सबको बुला दिया।
Sir, it's indeed it's very gratifying that 78 honorable members have spoken on this budget-related discussion. I'm very grateful.
प्लीज बैठिए सीट पे, प्लीज बैठिए सीट पे। नो नो
I'm very grateful, sir, that members have chosen to get into the details of the budget. Sir, actually, this budget has come at a time of immense uncertainties, and the change in the global macroeconomic environment makes it challenging. So, if there are challenges which have actually made the budget preparation with a lot more uncertainties, I have to at least put in front of the August House that there are issues which are of global concern, which also have an impact on our own budget making. There is a continuation of global conflict in the Middle East. Russia-Ukraine war continues. Stagnation in global GDP and sticky inflation in the emerging markets are all vitiating the atmosphere in the entire developing economies. Actually, what is happening is where we have
अभी बैठे
ideally
हैं, आप बैठे हैं,
a situation
सीट पे बैठे।
which should encourage free trade, we are seeing more restriction. Where we very strongly vouch for globalization, we see a lot more fragmentation. Where we need fiscal prudence, we are seeing rising debt. Where we are seeing market forces which should actually play to make sure economies are going to be absolutely free and fair in its practices, we are seeing many restrictive industrial policies. We are also seeing that where multilateral forums should be playing a greater role, we are seeing bilateral partnerships and regional forums coming into play. So the world scenario in the last 10 years has actually turned almost 180 degrees, and as a result of which the challenges for any country in making their budget is far more complicated now rather than ever before. Now, as far as the first advanced estimates from NSO have come in, India's economy is expected to grow by 6.4% in real terms and by 9.7% in nominal terms. So during the current financial year, this is the picture which we want to present before you. The inflation trends, particularly food inflation, appears to be moderating. Sir, the union budget for 25-26 has sought to address these immediate challenges facing the domestic economy in the global context. It also rolls out futuristic path for transforming India into Vikasit Bharat. So our main goals in this budget, our main goals in this budget are to accelerate our growth, secure inclusive development, invigorate private sector investments, and uplift household sentiments. So, with a focus on Garib, youth, Annadata, and Nari, the budget likes to reveal new schemes and reforms in the following broad sectors: promotion of agriculture, MSMEs, investments and exports as growth engines, and building rural prosperity and resilience. We also want to have employment-led development, spurring domestic consumption and boosting manufacturing in India, including export promotion. continuing public capital expenditure, sir, and rekindling the animal spirits in the private sector to step up investments. And most importantly, investing in people, investing in economy, and investing for innovation. These are actually the union budget. These are actually the points on which union budget is focusing, so that we balance the national development priorities with fiscal imperatives. So, some of the budgetary outlays I want to highlight here, sir, so that it covers most of the concerns expressed by many of the members. The budget, first thing before I even utter the outlays for each of the schemes, I want to highlight one concept, if you want to say, effective capital expenditure. What is effective capital expenditure, sir, and why do we need to? I'm sure very many members of Parliament will fully be aware of it, but for the records, I'd like to describe it for a minute. Effective capital expenditure includes core capital outlays and the grants in aid for creation of capital assets. Though the grants in aid for creation of capital assets, sir, is accounted in our budget, is accounted as revenue expenditure, they go for creating capital assets in the states. So we include them when we talk about effective capital expenditure. In the budget of this year, 25-26, the effective capital expenditure is projected at 15.48 lakh crores as against 13.18 lakh crores in the RE of 24-25. So the effective capital expenditure in BE 25-26, sir, is about 4.3% of our GDP. That is only 0.1% of GDP lower than the fiscal deficit of this year, which is 4.4. This year meaning 25-26, which is 4.4% of the GDP. So the effective capital expenditure is 4.3% of GDP. Fiscal deficit, 4.4% of GDP. What does it indicate? It indicates that government is using almost the entire borrowed resources for financing effective capital expenditure. So the borrowings are not going for revenue expenditure or committed expenditure or any of those kinds. It's going only for creating capital assets. So in effect, government intends to use about 99% of borrowed resources to finance effective capital expenditure in the upcoming 25-26 year. I'll explain it, Professor, please. I've just begun, right? The sectoral outlays in the year 25-26 include agriculture and allied activities, which get 1.71 lakh crores, rural development, which gets 2.67 lakh crores, urban development and transport, 6.45 lakh crores, health and education, 2.27 lakh crores, defense, which excludes defense pension, 4.92 lakh crores. So I just want to highlight the fact, sir, that money is not being denied to any of the capital expenditure accounts, because I heard occasionally this argument being put forward saying, has the paradigm shifted from capital expenditure because that gives a greater multiplier effect to giving people, the taxpayers, some money in their hands for boosting consumption? No, these data from the current budget, which is before us, shows that capital expenditure outlays have not come down at all. On the contrary, they've gone up. So in this, most importantly, across all schemes, I want to highlight how transfers to the states, that is for the year 25-26, will be 25.01 lakh crores. Transfers to the states across all schemes. And I just want to go back to listing out how much after COVID the capital expenditure is increasing. At the same time, including tax devolution, finance commission grants, and funds for centrally sponsored schemes, 50-year interest-free that we give for the states, all put together, the transfer of resources to the states is growing by the year. 2020-21, sir, 13.44 lakh crores, which is an increase from the previous year, that is 2019-20, where it was 13.19 crores. 21-22, it rose to 13.40 lakh crores. It was 4,000 slightly less because of COVID-related issues, although we targeted a higher number. But in 22-23, it was 15.56 lakh crores, which is 2.16 lakh crores more than the previous years. And that is the year when we brought in the 50-year interest-free loans for states. Interest-free 50-year loans. 23-24, 17.98 lakh crores, which is again 2.42 lakhs crore more from the previous year. 24-25, 22.91 lakh crores, 4.93 lakh crores more. And this year, the budget which is before us, 25.01 lakh crores, which is 2.1 lakh crores more than the previous year. So the amounts going to the states have not come down at all. Sir, I will seek your indulgence, sir. I want to highlight the thought and the philosophy behind our government's budget-making processes, and also how in the last 5-6 years we have set clearly some practices which are, I would think, very important from the point of view of fiscal management. So allow me to just go through some of the points. It's been a conscious policy choice because it's part of our governance priorities, its commitment to fiscal discipline. So India's development story actually presents a stark tale of two opposite approach to budget making and also for fiscal prudence. So global financial crisis of 2008, once in a century 2020 COVID pandemic. But what happened after 2008 led us to become a fragile country, whereas what is now happening is that you see we continue to remain the fastest growing economy. I want to highlight some of the very critical steps that we have taken in the fiscal prudence approach and also in budget making. So under this government, sir, India transited from the league of fragile five to become one of the top 5 economies of the world. 2021, sir, we had the devastating pandemic. Union budgeting reveals recurrent themes of transparency. Since that year, you will find our themes which are recurring are transparency in the budget making and also credibility of budget making, reforms to catalyze growth, targeted social security, and use of technology for obtaining value for public money. I'll just give 2 examples or sometime even 1 example for each year. 2020-21, sir, we took a giant step of bringing on board the FCI off-budget borrowing of 1.2 lakh crores. Food Corporation of India had continuously maintained off-budget borrowings. That year we took a major step of bringing all the off-budget borrowings of FCI, which totaled to 1.2 lakh crores onto the budget. So that enabled better public understanding and discourse on government debt and also brought in a sense of credibility to the budget documentation itself. That year, another step, sir, we have also partnered with the states to deepen the multiplier effect on capital spending by providing them with the 50-year interest-free loan. From an allocation of 12,000 crore in 2021, it has now in the current budget reached 1.50 lakh crores. So it is not just us believing in multiplier effect, by spending on capital asset building, but we have partnered with the states, and states are really actually speedily coming up with a lot of proposals, which is very, very good, and we are able to give them that kind of money to support their proposals. 21-22, sir, the year after that, again 2 steps which I want to highlight. Mahua, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, off-budget borrowing was also taken on board. We brought on record the off-budget borrowing of urban housing of 33,000 crores on the books of government by prepaying it. By prepaying it, sir. So we bought it on books and we prepaid it, and that's a major initiative that we've taken to make sure the budget's transparency and nothing outside of the budget will be done. That was the second major step. The first year it was FCI, the second year it is Mahua's. That year, again, just-in-time release and transparency in flow of funds to the states, the single nodal agency model was introduced, so taxpayer money goes to the states just in time for them to use the money, and there is no difficulty in that kind of a quick disbursal of resources. That's the second major step for 21-22. 22-23, sir, debt consolidation of agencies for better fiscal planning on borrowings. Professor was very worried about the borrowing, the debt and everything else. This is one of the points which I want Professor to consider as to why consistently between 2021 we are taking measures to reduce debt, at the same time make public money go for productive asset building activities. We commenced financing of capital outlay of railways and highways from the union budget that time, 22-23. This allowed for debt consolidation, particularly railways debt consolidation began happening from that year of these agencies and helped lower cost of borrowing. So as borrowing by government is cheaper than borrowing by agencies, so efficient use of money, there also we have shown that this kind of a step can actually better utilize taxpayers' money.